Currently, we're over 90% free and reduced lunch. As I shared downstairs, we have over 650 students. Population, 83% is African American, 14% is Caucasian, and the rest is other, that other 3%. So.
Okay, real quick, I will not take long. Kind of the origins, the reason why we do PLCs, because the teachers will be doing this even if we're not here. I maintain that we need the community to see what PLCs are. So now you can go out and talk about what is really going on inside of a classroom. Why does something like this sit inside diversity, equity, and poverty? Because it is about inclusion. Long gone are the days, or how are we going to get all kids from one certain area or from one type of kid across the achievement line. It's individualized, and you'll hear them talk about moving individual children up the achievement line. But more importantly, it's just important that we know that the community sees this, because some of the things you read might not be as accurate as what you are about to see, and I want y'all to understand what I'm saying. And I'll say it again. Some of the things you read or see on the news might not be as accurate as what you are about to see here. This is what's going on inside of our school. Again, these teachers would be doing this if we weren't here, but it's important, like Ms. Porter said, now that you see this, go out and share the good news and the things that are going on. To 5 people. Ms. Porter said share it to 5 people. And I don't know how close Principal Gunn will let you get to them, but if you can't see back there, please come up. And again, this is not a dog and pony show. This is what they'd be doing, so I'll sit down.
We started the 3rd cycle once we came back from Christmas. So last week we discussed the scores from the assessments, the proficiencies that the students took in reading and math last week. So this week we're actually looking at the cycle standards for cycle 3. So that's what you all have in front of you. All right, so I went ahead and just put the different cycles for reading, the different standards for reading. This is just my quick go-to sheet. The asterisk represents the ones that are brand new to this cycle, and of course the other ones we've already been working on. So I kind of wanted to see your all's pacing for the new ones and just kind of discuss how we break down each standard.
Right, so then this week we started with 4.6, and that is what our common formative assessment that we are giving today is with. And so it's actually, because it is the first standard that we're doing, we have not done the essential planning sheet for that, so I didn't know if we wanted to go ahead and analyze it more in depth, or because we've already taught it pretty much this week, if we wanted to go ahead and look at the informational side of 4.6 for first-hand and second-hand perspective.
Did you give the assessment? I printed one at the corner.
She sent me a copy.
Yes.
So as far as do you know when you all will get to RL 4.9, or it's kind of?
Well, so RL 4.9 we'll teach next week, and then we're going to just go into the informational standards. I didn't know if next week we should switch and do an informational standard instead, because it is Martin Luther King Day on Monday. To get in, the texts generally are informational texts in general. I can't really find any stories, but I think that would be
We have in our journeys book that.
My brother.
So we could do the RI 4.9?
To go ahead and...
Is that next week?
Yeah.
She's got some things in the library.
Yeah, there's
Also
a ton of...
encourage the kids, and then you're going to get an opportunity to pull a Dr. King book, but since February is coming up also, they can pull information books and, on a specific person. And to stay along with that particular theme, we're going to be doing the research papers in February on a person mainly of their choosing, they'll choose one. So along with that theme, they'll already be heading in a certain direction on studies.
But then again, looking at RI 4.6, to the first-hand account and second-hand account, we can do like Martin Luther King Jr. speech of I Have a Dream to get that first-hand account, and then look for like news articles and things like that reporting on the speech as the second-hand accounts. And then building in the RI 4.9, since we are looking at 2 texts on the same topic.
Excellent.
And we did a first-hand and second-hand account. Was it social
We
studies?
did it for social studies, so it's cross-curriculum. First-hand account and second-hand account of the same event or topic, and describe those differences in focus.
this the one where, no, we've already had one with the dog
Huh?
plantation.
I don't remember that one.
That is, but we usually have the same one. Is it on the diagnostic?
I have printed it out.
Yeah, we have the diagnostic.
I'm gonna go
It
with
was Field
Gibbs.
Mice and Cinderella for the,
And there's a poem.
yeah, so it's not actually, yeah, this is the assessment where we don't have actually any of the informational
Yeah, 'cause if you
standards
look-
assessed.
Look on this real quick. I put, for the RDA, the different ones, the different standards that would be covered on the RDA.
Yeah, because it's just the literature, and then
Mhm.
cycle 4 is all the informational standards. So while we'll teach the informational standards for this cycle,
It won't
they're
be
actually not assessed until cycle 4. But it'll give them a good background.
So do we want to focus on those standards still?
Yes.
Mhm.
I think we should
Just
just.
because the timing is
Well, then
good.
this is what I had, it kind of, it was, they've already been familiarized with
Yeah.
it on social studies, and it's a copy of a letter. You know, so it would be a primary source and a first-hand account about a frontier school. We could find a second-hand account of.
And they have a lot of, aside from doing Martin Luther King or anything like that, most of the examples are generally like the Oregon Trail.
Mhm.
A lot of resources for that.
Coming from third grade, they only know the language of point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time that they're hearing firsthand and secondhand account.
Aside from cycle 1 for social studies,
Right.
when we,
Did it. And we're doing point of view now, so.
yeah,
Right.
so it's a good step too. So then our learning targets, I'd say take it straight from it and just do, I can compare and contrast a first-hand account and second-hand account.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we want to break it down also and just say, I can identify a first-hand account and I can,
Mm-hmm.
Separately.
Separately.
Mhm.
identify and explain, so they get that deeper.
And then compare and contrast.
Because that would be more the level 3 DOP level. So then we'd say for a proficient student, looking at their assessments, we know they're proficient if they can look at a text and tell us if it's first-hand or second-hand.
Count.
And provide the details to support it.
There you go.
Provide the details to support it.
Yeah, 'cause if it's given in a extended response,
Mm-hmm.
then just letting us know that it's a first and account is not gonna be enough to score a 3 or 4. It's gonna ask them to support it with the details to prove that it's a first or second-hand account, by whether it's diary or
And they're gonna have to
a
get into,
letter.
Yeah, the text
they're
example.
gonna have to get into the fact that first-hand accounts have more emotion in them, more of what the author's thinking.
Yeah, the
where-
personal.
Their feelings.
Yeah, whereas the second-hand accounts are gonna be more objective.
Yeah, it's gonna be a history book.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but to talk about that, I think I know that there's a good article about maybe it's in our, I'll have to find it, but it's about the San Francisco earthquake. And they tell
you
from
were
the
there,
first,
you felt the pain.
They tell from the first-hand account, and they
Mhm.
talk about somebody being stuck under the rubble and how it felt to be stuck on it, but then the second-hand account is just about the amount of damage and statistics and things
Yeah,
like
the
that.
newspaper article.
Yeah. And we have anchor charts from last year that we used with like the text examples and then like different signal words, like if they're seeing the stats and the statistics, then they actually know it is secondhand. So then just identifying and explaining with the text evidence, and then proficient student would just do the comparing and contrast, and we want to base that on evidence of text feelings or text facts.
Feelings.
Feelings and facts.
Yeah. And then our as we talked about prior knowledge, we said third graders, they just, they understand point of view.
Point of view from the author of the text.
Social studies, we discussed primary and secondary sources.
Right.
Is that the progression?
So then we just need to look at vocabulary that we need to focus on. So I'd say obviously it's first-hand account, second-hand account.
And to review, compare, and contrast.
So primary source, secondary source.
Your stats, statistics, everything we know the difference.
Vocabulary.
It's probably a list of words. I would, if not, you can go through basically, there's probably some words in the compare and contrast in the journeys. There's probably some good vocabulary words there. Along with words that are right here in the site, compare, contrast, first-hand account, second-hand account, event, topic, difference, information.
Yeah, to do event and topic.
Can we add point of view?
Perspective, because they go back and forth between the two. On assessments, they'll say point of view and perspective, point of view and perspective, and then there's another that there's more that they're similar.
So then let's look at our questioning levels for each part of it. So I'd say a level 1 is just identifying a passage as first hand or second hand.
And it's always important to let them know that second-hand account, they were not there.
Right.
As simple as that, they were not there. It could even be hearsay.
The other thing we need to keep in mind, though, is, differentiating between a informational text and a fictional, because, you don't want them to start saying first-hand account when they're talking.
Well, so then let's go back to where we talked about the proficient student, that they can, they'll be able to describe the difference between a literature text for a point of view and a informational. But
It
here
was
you-
a
multiple choice question. It was a
Okay.
primary source. We learned primary source versus secondary source, so
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
pull it
get.
back up.
And, the important thing to let them know is that the social studies book is a secondary source that has primary sources in it. So we
Yeah.
don't get confused with the fact that, okay, since the book is a secondary source, there's only secondary sources in it. No, it's a secondary source that houses primary sources, letters, diaries, excerpts.
Yeah, well, we talked about, especially last year, when we gave examples, we talked about how textbooks in general were
Yeah.
a secondary
So-
source. So then going back, we'd say a level 2 questioning would be
That's a basic
just the
identification.
evidence.
How do you know?
Because even in the, if you go into the secondary source and there's a primary source in, say, a diary, you can go even deeper and say, okay, from whose point of view is this information coming from in the primary source, and what's the proof? And in it, you're going to see I, we, those things to show that that person is the actual person that's writing it.
Well, I think that's what we're getting at
So
level
that's a
2,
deal.
is using those pronouns and simple things like that to identify that it's first hand or second hand.
And that takes
then
up
when we
to
get to
3.
then we get to level 3.
Yeah.
We start talking about how, actual point of view and emotions and feelings, and maybe that might even go down to a 4, or what type of information you would provide.
So then we'll say our evidence is saying the pronouns or
What words-
understanding the
yeah.
source of the information.
Yeah, what words give the indication that this is primary source, and whose point of view is it from?
Miss Wallace is gonna pull the books that are listed on here, which they're the fiction and nonfiction books, so if you all want some of the other sources, she's gonna pull all of those for you.
Okay.
Because you have Ruby Bridges.
I have that one.
Yeah, we all
I think I have a lot of
Mhm.
these.
Well, and that would build on, because I'd like to focus on more so than what we did last year. I'd like to do more of a unit where we're looking at like actual like going into February and doing Black History Month and like having that culture for them, because they still don't know exactly, but they're very interested in understanding it.
So she was gonna pull all those.
Yeah.
I'll just come in.
But to do like Ruby Bridges and all of those sort of stories and Rosa Parks and everything, they enjoy that.
I literally have them pull a name out of a hat. Literally. I have a hat, and I put in certain individuals, enough for each student in the class, and they pull a name, and they have to do a research paper on that individual in the month of February.
I'll create a rubric and send it out for everybody to do, because they can do that while we do guided reading. That's what they work on, and get the iPads and everything.
Or at least
That they can do like a research station.
if we can get our computers hooked up to the printer, they can use our computers also.
Yep.
Just had that done last week, and called Rocky in for that.
Okay. Okay, I don't think mine are.
In fact, if I can remember, I'll tell them when we leave here.
So was that level 3?
To build upon. I mean, I think level 3 we'd have to go and start talking about actually comparing and contrasting. So
And
finding-
that's where I think we get into the type of information, comparing and contrasting the type of information provided in first-hand accounts versus second-hand accounts. Because second-hand accounts are gonna have data and multiple viewpoints on the data, where first-hand account's gonna have one person's perspective on what was happening at the time. Was that for a level 3, we would want to look into more of the information provided in the text and compare and contrasting first-hand to second-hand accounts based on the type of information, and just only having one person's perspective in a first-hand account, whereas a second-hand account would have many different points of view and research and data and dates and things like that.
So then would we push the level 3 to a level 4 when we're proving the text evidence for the similarities and the differences, like distinguishing between the two and explaining possibly why the narrator chose that it was a first-hand or a second-hand and compare it that way?
Right, the evidence.
Yeah, to do the evidence for it. Do you want to just do one standard and?
Finish that one.
Well, so then the last part we need to think of is what is our extension for the students that demonstrate that they're pretty proficient in it all? What is our extension for high level?
It would be nice if they could almost do like a performance or a skit
Well, I was saying like do like presentation on the research of who they're
on their
people are.
person.
I like the performance because when Shakespeare came, they were
They
very
love-
animated.
My goodness.
They really liked it. They were very animated.
Okay.
Mm.
So I remember 7th and 8th grade, my history teacher would make us have a Greek or a Roman god or goddess, and we'd have to dress up and act it out and do the research. And
We can provide the research during our guided reading time.
it's going right there. So then that is all we've got for the standards.
Miss Wallace will pull that too.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
okay.
That- I mean,
Yeah, go ahead and.
You know, the extended response, without a doubt, it never fails, and it's gonna be, RI 4.6.
Mhm. But it won't be that until cycle
You did-
4.
So four.
And that's the one about,
Yes.
the track star. Is this the
No,
one?
we've done,
Window.
that
For
was,
the
Commercial.
proficiency? That's not the-
Major.
that was,
I feel like there's one, I feel like there's one that we.
the plantation,
before.
it's the
Mhm.
plantation.
Yeah.
Here in
It's a-
Kentucky.
the
It-
daughter-
you're
Farmington.
right.
Is it
Mhm.
Farmington?
Daughter, and
Yes,
it's gonna
right.
give two
Farmington.
perspectives, 2 points,
You're right.
you know, yeah, and it's gonna be deep.
Let's go with
It always,
Farmington.
it always is. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
Good
deep in Farmington.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
it.
will say the short answer, I think, for the proficiency, if it's the same as last year, is RL 4.6. So that's why on the common assessment, we have the narrative points of view between those two legends. The only thing I thought it was too easy for them just to say who the narrator was and what the point of view was, so because the actual standard for point of view is comparing and contrasting, but the short answer is not comparing and contrasting. So
No,
that's
it's
why.
not, no.
So that's why on the short answer I just said explain how they're similar and different to actually like hit the standard better. But that is that short answer. So that'll somewhat prepare them for when they have to do the
Mhm.
ERQ.
And for RI 4.6, e-reading has these little short passages that are really good. I
What
give
is
them,
it?
I give them for homework.
The narrative perspective.
E-reading, it's narrative perspective, and if you get like the 2 through 7, they don't go in depth into secondhand second person. They just have what perspective is it and how do you know? So
Yeah.
exactly what they're gonna have to do.
It's easy to do as like the comprehension part of like centers to
Oh,
do.
just dawned on me, one that they get confused on. And they're gonna give them that choice of an answer. Second person. And a lot of them will fall for it. And I tell them that only time you're gonna get the second person is receiving directions.
Mhm.
Yeah, Only.
I've said
only.
like if you do
It's
this.
directly for you. The word "you" is the key right there. It said, you do this next. Like if they're giving you a recipe, you know, that's the only time it's going to be second person. Everything else is first and third. But some will fall for
I
that.
told them we're not even worried about second person right now. We're worried about first and third to get
Right.
that down because we're talking about literature
I
and
don't think that's our standard anyway.
Well, it's not our
Right.
standard, but even they know about it because going back to point of view that they did in third grade, they had some understanding. They're like, well, what about second? So they do have that, and I figured we should just go ahead and
Build on
address
it.
it, even if.
that's why I think we need to make a really big deal about informational text versus literature. Because when they start getting that language with first and second hand accounts, they're gonna start jumbling up their brains.
Well, because will they ask what is the first-hand point of view? What is the second-hand accounts point of view? Like, do we need to go above and just don't even say that point of view has to be first person or second person or third person, but literally point of view is a perspective that
Right.
the narrator or whoever's telling the story has. Because I think that'll trip them up if they ask the point of view of a first-hand and second-hand account.
Mm-hmm.
They can use it as evidence that, oh, I think it's in first person, but I think they need to go deeper. And we're good on that standard.
We actually were going to do another standard, but Mr. Gunn said that you all had questions. If you look on the sheet, for this cycle, RL is for your literature standards. We were to still cover our I 4.8, our I 4.9. That will also be covered during cycle 3. But if you all have any questions. Yes, ma'am. We meet, every grade level meets once a week with myself and the Goal Clarity Coach, which she's not here today, during their planning period, which is a 55-minute period of time.
But we're all up here together, so we have one formal meeting like this a week, but we're constantly trading ideas. Like the other day, I was reading for my guided reading group, we had a book about a monster coming to town, and the story was told from the third person, but you only knew the villager's perspective of what was going on. So it let me at a more accessible level get into some of these standards with the kids. And then I pass that on to Miss Freddie, and she'll pass it down to Miss Carter, because there's, it helps us really dig into that standard where it's not just them identifying third person or first person. Now they're identifying this as a third person perspective where we only understand the villagers, but the point of the story was it came around, it was a baby monster, and it had lost his mom. So you didn't know the monster's point of view, and all the villagers were freaking out. But then when you reveal more of the monster's perspective, it kind of talk a little bit more about how perspectives can change the meaning of the story.
I want to ask about the Gifted and Talented Advanced program you have in here, just kind of like sustainability and bringing that to scale. I know a lot of our schools is 2 or 3 years in, and I know you've been doing it for a while. Can you speak to just the Gifted and Talented Advanced program, or you principal, how you want to do it, or the counselor?
Yeah. And Mr. Garner, you had the AP students for the last 3, and I know also the students who have that appealable score,
Yes.
each summer you work with them through the program as well, so I think you can speak on it.
On the, how the gifted and talented pertains to this, like I said, these are learning targets that all 4th graders have. But what I need to give them is pacing. We may not spend as much time on each target as the other classes because of the expectations. So one thing is pacing that differentiates them. And also, once I get to the end of it, it gives me opportunity to go back over the targets because not every student is going to be on the same pace. Now, in the summer program, we have students that test, all students test here. And students that are within range 18 and above, they're offered the opportunity, as you well know, to go to the summer program. Foster is one of the sites now, which has become, I think, the last couple of years, one of the sites. So we have students from other schools that come here also. We try to encourage our students. One thing that we do have concern about, a lot of parents have concern about, is that the students are already in traditional status. And so changing from traditional status to advanced status is not really the problem, is where they'll be going to school at, because they like the traditional program. So that's what is keeping a lot of our students from actually going. Last year I had half my class qualified, but they stayed in traditional program. And so I feel that with that help, though, that helps them become a better traditional student from wherever they go also.
You're
So
talking about the REACH program?
yes, yes.
That's important because, we have Councilwoman Green here, and I know one of the things central office we struggle with is sometimes parents don't know that they can appeal.
Right.
And I know Principal Gunn, if you're even close, you all put them in.
Right.
I just wanted Councilwoman Green to hear that we need to make sure parents even know that some of their kids are close. And Foster puts you in regardless.
Right.
If you're close or not. So.
Right. They have that opportunity, and we try to encourage more kids to go to the REACH program in the summer.
Right.
And so it's getting better, but we're still far off as far as the numbers are concerned, what we want.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing I'd like to say is the advanced program is an opportunity for all students. When I first came to the Board of Education, the advanced program is not offered in all schools. Students make decisions on where to go to school based on whether they could take the advanced program or not. The board has worked very hard with central office to make sure that that opportunity is available in every school, so we're not losing students to have to go to another school. One of the things that I think about in every school is access and opportunity for students. It should be the same, no matter what door you walk in, the access and the opportunity should be the same. And I'm proud to say that I'm here today, and Foster is one of our showcase newer buildings in the district. You will hear me get on a wagon talking about facilities. Look at this school. This school is awesome by design. It didn't happen by mistake. People spend a lot of time, and I want to give credit to Doris Miller, who's not on this earth, but looking at us from above, the effort and the passion that she had to make sure that everything was in this building for the kids in this building. So it's important. Kids like to go to some place that's bright, shiny, and wonderful with wonderful people. But as I go to all of my schools, I want to make sure that everybody has access, opportunity to learn, no matter what the building says, no matter the name of the school, is extremely important to me. And this is a great place to be. I visited Foster at 3800 Garland Avenue before we built this building. The last time I was in there was with Board Member Ann Elmore, who preceded me. We could barely get the kids in the room for an assembly program. There was no room. So congratulations to the teachers, and I have to do a shout out. I was a teacher. Wallace Gardner went to Middle High School. When I taught at Mill, but you may not say when, but back in the day, I was a student at Middle High School. So thank you. I will be here after if you have any questions that pertain to the board. But remember, it's important, the work that you're doing for the kids, because the kids will be here to take care of us. So it's there's any dollar that I can put in Foster is coming this way to help kids. And folks won't like that sometimes, but get over it.
I just wanted to speak. I'm an employee of Foster. I'm a family resource center coordinator, but I wanted to speak as a parent of a student who is in the advanced program as a result of appealing that score and him participating in the REACH program here at Foster with Mr. Garner. I feel like my son is very, very smart, but he doesn't necessarily test well. And so we appealed it, and he was able to come to the REACH program here at Foster. In his 5th grade year now, he has so much more confidence in his ability to perform in the classroom as a result of coming and learning the pacing and learning how to relax during testing. And he actually raised his score high enough to be able to apply to a gifted and talented program going into middle school. So I just wanted to say that it does work. The REACH program was an excellent opportunity for him to be able to have access to the gifted and talented program. Even though we knew in his working ability, his everyday work, that he was capable of doing that, when it came time to test, he just wasn't able to do that. So the summer program was a great opportunity for him to be able to shine in that way.
Any other questions?
Do you guys trade students at all for different subjects, or do you keep the kids all day? I know it's different at different schools.
We don't departmentalize. We keep our own students.
We have looked into intervention, talking about, I think it was Mr. Marshall, right? Talking about making sure that we're meeting the needs of every student. Trying to sort out a block. We've been doing a lot of assessment to figure out where our kids are on specific standards, and setting aside a block of time where we can group kids not only by, some abstract ability level, but exactly how they perform on every single standard. It's just getting the logistics of that lockdown, making sure that we know where the kids are, making sure we know where to meet our students. So we're working on that. That's been something that we've been trying to lock down so we can switch. That way also, I can go out and say it, I'm a really good science teacher. I might not be as strong of math, or maybe just some of the standards. I might not be as good as Ms. Carter in teaching a specific standard. So we want to make sure that if somebody's got a hold on what they're doing, that we're getting those kids to that teacher, or she's sharing what she's doing with them with me, so that I can implement those strategies in my classroom.
I think that's one of the strengths here at Foster, that our teachers are so open to sharing everything. So even if they're not officially meeting with me or the Go Clarity coach, they meet after school, before school, during their planning periods, to share ideas, lessons that worked well, adjustments that might need to be made. So it's really, the PLC has really been beneficial here at Foster, because you're no longer just teaching in your classroom. You're kind of taking ownership of, all of 4th grade, and pushing all of 4th grade, and seeing what they were supposed to know from 3rd grade, so that we can carry on that common language to help the kids succeed.
Can I say, I think that's one of the important points about the PLC process, and I'm Melissa Barman, I work with JCPS and have the opportunity to help organize the PLCs. I think that's one of the interesting things about the PLC process is that for those, my colleagues that have been in the classroom previously, I think that attitude of sharing and teamwork and working together wasn't necessarily the norm. That you were very much, a lot of times felt isolated in your classroom, and to be able to reach out and help, you might have those that you had to locate on staff that you could reach out and form a bond with, but as far as bringing together as a whole team, for those that are working together either in the same content area or the same grade level, is really, it's a huge benefit, just the benefits that all the classrooms have because of that process, and from the teacher's perspective, in being able to work together and have that collegial support is huge. So that's one of the things that we really, in doing all of this and in the whole PLC round observation process, is being able to showcase the amazing work that our teachers are doing, but also that feeling of teamwork and how they really are working together for every student in their classroom, and that process being able to help facilitate that. So. If I could say one more thing, but that you have the packets that you have at your table, kind of give you some information about the PLC process, as well as there's a schedule on the back of that lists out all of our observation sessions we have for the rest of the year. We encourage you to, if you would like to attend another, you are more than welcome. We also have our Envision Equity newsletter that is there. That is a monthly newsletter that is put out by our Department of Equity Poverty, DEP, Division of and we have that, when you signed in and you add your email address, you will be receiving that newsletter. It's really interesting. It gives a great perspective throughout the district. Also, you have a survey as well. If you wouldn't mind filling that out before you leave, and you can just leave it on the table up here. We're constantly looking at ways to improve this process, to improve and looking for great ways to be able to reach out to the public and give good feedback and improve the process. So I thank each